she said, "Are you a man or a woman?" And
Okay.
it was kind of like, I'm a man. How could you
Mhm.
not tell? Man. So she sits next to me,
Mhm.
and I said, "Why did you ask if I'm a man or a woman?" So she puts her hand on my leg and she says,
Okay, this is Walt Goodridge, the Jamaican in China and beyond, and I'm with the exotic foreigner, Ken Marks, and we're into part two of our little conversation here. And where I would like to go, Ken, is just to say that I have a lot of respect for the fact that you chose a place you had no clue about whatsoever. That is cool. In a sense, I do that as well, meaning when I ended up in Vietnam, it was just because a friend who's a pilot said, "Hey, we fly to Da Nang." So I said, "Oh, so I said, hey, let's go to Da Nang." Someone on couch surfing suggested Xishuangbanna. That was in China. Um, but there's something about what you did that just sounds a little braver. That sounds braver. The fact that you basically just stuck a pin in a map and said that's where I'm gonna go. So that's really cool. So when you landed, you said the immigration agent just let you right in. I think
Mhm.
that's the power of the US passport, or large Western country passport. Same would happen if you were Australian or from the UK. Sometimes they tend to get a little more vigilant with passports from third world countries like Jamaica.
Yeah.
But generally, it's not, it's just because a lot of them actually don't know where it is. They have no idea. When I went to Cambodia recently, and I only met one tuk-tuk driver who actually knew where Jamaica was. He was well read. But anyway, back to your story. So you've landed in Kazakhstan, you've exited the airport, you are declining taxis. Where are you heading?
So when I went out of Manas Airport, it's called Manas.
Okay.
Uh, First, I guess you could say kind of culture shock was that all of the words, for example, the texts and things was in Russian.
Okay.
And I was just like kind of shocked, like, why is it in Russian? Why are there Russians here? What is this? And it turns out that Kyrgyzstan, well, Central Asia in general, was once part of USSR.
Okay.
So, but I didn't know that. And on top of that, so you have Russian and you have Kyrgyz. Kyrgyz is the official language of Kyrgyzstan.
Okay.
So now it's like a double whammy because it's two languages that I don't know, and they're both in this strange Cyrillic alphabet that I have no idea about. So the first thing I had to figure out was, okay, where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to stay? Um,
So hold on a second. Let me get this straight. When I travel, the very least that I do is I go on hostelworld.com or hotels.com, and I at least get a place. And I at least have a bed to sleep on when I get there. You landed in Kazakhstan without even
Kyrgyzstan,
getting
Kyrgyzstan.
Kazakhstan at that time, without even getting a hotel lined up.
No, I didn't want to do it that way.
Oh, okay.
I so my travel philosophy
Hmm.
or expatriate philosophy or whichever is that I'm trying to live as a local, not as a foreigner, not as a tourist, I should say, as because I'm always going to be a foreigner, but as a tourist. So I assumed that, yeah, okay, maybe they don't speak English, but maybe there's a way I can still navigate without English.
Hmm.
Or maybe there might be a little bit of English, but not as much because I wanted the experience of getting lost as if I was kidnapped and thrown somewhere and I'm trying to find my way. That's the experience I was looking for.
That is
So I wanted to try to do this myself. Similarly, how I was in Japan because I was able to navigate through Japan, but that's because in Tokyo there's a lot of English there. But
Mhm.
Kyrgyzstan, there was no English at all. No one spoke English, no one, nothing. And that was very difficult in the very beginning. It felt kind of like depressing because technically I was illiterate,
Mhm.
couldn't speak Russian, couldn't speak Kyrgyz.
Right.
I didn't know how to interact with people because I don't know how to be polite, what's not to be rude. I
Interesting.
didn't know anything. So
Two
that
things. Two things. I got to interrupt. One, um, there are there's a small percentage of the world's population who purpose, and if I may toot my own horn here, I count myself among them, who will purposely challenge themselves to make life difficult. And I totally get that. I understand that. It's sort of the same thing that I do. I want the challenge. I want to have a puzzle to figure out. I want to have a code to crack. I want to be I don't just want to float in on easy mode. I want to set the level
yes.
higher so that I can, whether it's prove something to myself or just have some fun or test my abilities, test my wits, whatever. But it's not everyone in the population that thinks like that. In fact, a lot of people actually want to bring every single comfort of home with them when they
Mhm.
travel and actually basically just experience their regular life just in a different country. But that's really cool. And something else you said about living like a local, obviously, that's my philosophy as well. When I travel, I want to shop where the locals shop, do the things locals do. A great day for me is just to sit in a park somewhere and just watch people going back and forth and just sort of getting into the mindset of what it's like to be, in this case, from Kazakhstan. What does a Kazakhstan person think of themselves? What's their worldview? How do they, where do they shop? What do they think of foreigners? How do they get through life? So that's what's um, intriguing to me about travel, is not seeing, all the great tourist traps, but just immersing myself and living an alternate life, if you will. And that's something that I call
Mhm.
my many me philosophy. But really, really cool. I really admire that. So keep going.
Yeah. But the thing about Bishkek, the capital of, well, just in Kyrgyzstan in general, it's not a tourist destination at all
Okay.
because it's really, really, really rare. Okay, there are some foreigners there, but they're from neighboring countries like
Wow.
Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Russia, because
Right.
they've, there's that. But I'm talking about like someone from the Western Hemisphere or Eastern Hemisphere or something like this. That's extremely rare. So, I said to myself, this is what I wanted. So, and I went to the city center or
Mhm.
downtown, as we say in New York
Mhm.
area, which, yeah, it was like a historical aesthetics because Bishkek, well, Kyrgyzstan used to be part of the old Silk Road, so there's a lot of architecture that has a remnants of thousands of years ago, and
Mhm.
also because it was part of Soviet Union, there's a lot of architecture that shows this as well. So I was just like blown away from this. So I did find a place. It wasn't so difficult. The people were extremely, extremely friendly and
Mhm.
kind.
Mhm.
Be This was a second culture shock. The these people were very, very, very hospitable
Mhm. Mhm.
because every other person would try to ask, "Do you need help? Are you lost?
Mhm.
Here's some food.
Right, right,
Come
right.
to the house.
Mhm.
Go to there's a hostel in this place,"
Mhm.
and someone helped me find a place to live
Right.
for quite a while. So it wasn't a problem settling in,
Right.
actually.
I want to add here, just for people who are watching, the same experience for me in China. I would get on a bus, and the older gentleman would actually reach out, grab my arm to pull me to sit next to them so they could talk to me. There was a girl who sat next to me on a bus in China, and she started up a conversation, and when she found that I was looking for a place to stay, and I had an apartment number and an address, she got off the bus with me to help me look for the apartment, even though she had an appointment that she was going to. So yes, I find also the same thing: friendliness, very hospitable, very friendly. In Thailand, the same thing. A girl came right up to me after I got off the bus and said, "Hi, can I help? Are you looking for something? Are you lost?"
Same in Japan for me too.
you know so yeah, just I stress that just because, again, just to dispel some of the fears and misconceptions that people have about being a foreigner in a different country. So continue.
So I found a place to live, and the next thing that I was very scared of was like, so I don't remember. I think I exchanged money
Hmm.
um to from dollars to local currency known as soms, I think, soms,
Hold on a
Kyrgyz
second.
soms.
Hold on, I gotta interrupt. You glossed over a little point here. When you show up, you said you got a place to stay. Was it a hotel or was it an apartment?
Oh, it was just a hostel.
Oh, okay. Because the question that came to mind is, when you said it, you said a place to stay. So sometimes when I travel, I'll actually stay in apartments. So I wanted to know how that interaction went. If you didn't speak the language,
Oh,
you showed up to someone to get an apartment. But if it's a hostel, obviously they know why you're there. So anyway, go
oh
ahead.
yeah. Okay, so the hostel where I stayed, I don't think it's open anymore today. But back then when it was open, they speak Russian before they speak Kyrgyz. Okay, just like English is the lingua franca of
Mhm.
the world,
Mhm.
Russian is the lingua franca of the ex-Soviet countries. So
Okay.
if you're a foreigner,
Mhm.
they'll speak to you in Russian first before
Yes.
they speak in Kyrgyz, because most likely you'll know Russian.
Right.
I didn't know Russian, but the administrator did speak some English.
Mhm.
But the other people who were sleeping in the beds in the rooms,
Mhm.
they didn't speak English at all, just Kyrgyz and Russian or whatever language they're from.
Mhm.
So they were very, very friendly towards me in this place, because they would give me soap, rags, towels, whatever, even though I told them I don't need it because I have. I said, well, I tried to tell them store, shop,
Mhm.
and the word for shop in Russian is magazine, like magazine.
Mhm.
And they pointed in the direction where to go. And then I said, I know money,
Mhm.
and the word for money in Russian is dingy. So I said, dingy, and they pointed to where I can go exchange.
Mhm.
So I spent 5 minutes trying to figure out, like, what was like, you know, seeing a different currency in that country at the time. It was
Right.
always so amazing to see something different, like it was in Japan and China. So I went to shop. I tried to look for the prices, how much was this, and I was so shocked how cheap the food was, and how the people in the shop, they were always very helpful. And even though we couldn't communicate, I figured out how to buy some things, and there were some little funny uh interactions, because I guess they were trying to ask, do I have like a card? When you go shopping, you have like a discount card or
Membership,
whatever,
like
and
a membership card, yeah. Mhm.
like a membership card, but I didn't know what they were trying to
Right,
say.
right.
So it was just funny. But the cashier was a woman, and she was just smiling from ear
Right,
to
right,
ear.
right. Okay, let's jump. I love that. Let's jump to some stuff that people may be interested in asking. You've named your channel The Exotic Foreigner.
Yes.
For a lot of the, now this is for the single guys in the or the married guys who are looking to stray in the audience.
Mhm.
Why did you, what does that mean? What's the significance of the exotic foreigner? Where did that come from? And what is it, how does it relate to dating as a foreigner?
So I actually didn't give myself this name.
Okay.
It's the locals who gave me this name.
Wow.
So
Okay.
they took it. Why? Because when I first started traveling, I didn't speak the language in
Mhm.
any of the countries. But some languages, the word exotic, you can
Okay.
hear. Like in
Right.
Russian, I don't remember. It sounds similar to
Mhm.
exotic in English. And then another place I went to, the word exotic, I hear this word in their language to
Mhm.
refer to me. And every single person, it's always three things, three adjectives that they describe me:
Okay.
tall, skinny, and
Mhm.
exotic. The most common was exotic.
Cool.
And depending on what what language or what country you come from,
Mhm.
you're always foreigner, foreigner, foreigner.
Right, right, right.
So so what gave me the idea was there was this Uzbek woman who was very friendly to me, very kind and helpful. Uh, Even though they know I don't speak Russian
Mhm.
or Uzbek language, they still speak to me in their language as
Right,
if I
right.
know what they're saying, but I don't. But she was talking to me and she would touch my face,
Mhm.
touch my hair because I always have an afro. She was touching my hair. She was just so mind blown by my hair, my texture of my hair. And she kept saying, "Oh, exotic, exotic, exotic," and красивый, красивый, which means beautiful in Russian, красивый. And I said, you know what? I like that idea.
Mhm.
So I took that name, the exotic foreigner, because locals call me this word. And secondly, when I walk the streets,
Mhm.
all the heads and all the eyes are usually towards me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they don't just, when they stare, many people stare with a big
With a big
smile,
smile.
some
Yep.
stare with like, kind of curiosity.
Mhm.
And, the word exotic is always the number one thing that pops into
Right,
the
right.
conversation.
That's cool. That's
And for the girls, for example, I can't tell you the number of interactions I've had where because of my exotic features,
Mhm.
I had a lot of attention
Right.
from this girl. Let me give you two examples. First example, there was when I rode this bus in this was in Kazakhstan. I got on this bus and there was I don't know, maybe she could have been college age, maybe high school, I don't know. There was this Russian girl, maybe Ukrainian, I don't know. She was drawing on, like a picture or something,
Mhm.
like painting, like she was an art student. And I was holding this rail because there
Right.
was no seats. She happened to look up and see me for like 3 seconds. She put her stuff away, like her drawings.
Mhm.
She took out a new piece of paper and she drew me artistically, like a profession, like a realist
Wow.
drawing. And
Do
I
you
was just so amazed.
do
Huh?
you have it? Did she give it to you?
No, she didn't give it to me. She
Did you,
wanted it for herself.
oh, did you take a picture of it? That is cool. Did you have any further interaction with her after
No,
beyond the bus?
no, because it was in the bus,
Right,
so
right,
it, our time was
right,
limited.
right. Did
She
did
left.
did you did you acknowledge to each other that this occurred, and did she thank you for being her model? What else?
I think because of the fact that she knew I didn't speak Russian
Mhm.
and she didn't speak English, I
Right,
think she was really shy
right,
to
right.
say anything. But when she got off the bus, she turned around and we made long eye contact before the door closed, and then the bus went.
Okay, let's pursue this one for a second. This is really interesting because that happens also to me a lot when I'm in different countries in Asia. Now, I'll say just because someone is curious, just because someone is leering at you, just because, you know, someone is smiling, doesn't mean that, one, you have to engage them. Doesn't mean, two, that you're interested in them. Doesn't mean, three, that they're interested in a, you know, romantic way. It does make meeting people easier, but, you know, there's no obligation for you to have to take it to another level. But I'm curious about, after that interaction, did you, now this is just you and me talking, just guy talk, did you feel like you should have pursued it?
Yes.
A little further. Right. I know that feeling.
But okay, here's a second why I'm kicking myself, because there was another incident on the bus. I think I told you this one before. So there was this very, very attractive, I think maybe she could have been Kazakh, she could have been Korean, I don't know. But there was this very attractive professional Kazakh woman. She was tall, she was very like in shape, figured, whatever. And at that time, I did understand some Russian, a little bit Russian. And I was on my phone, probably watching a YouTube video, maybe. And this woman came in front of the bus, like I was sitting in front of the bus, and she sat near the back. And you know, these buses also have an exit in the front and an exit in the side, in the middle. But she chose to come to the front and ask me, what time is it? Seeing that she had a phone in her hand, she could have checked herself, but she wanted to speak to me.
That was her best move.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to say numbers in Russian. So I showed her the screen to show her the time. And
oh no.
You're gonna laugh. She said, "Are you a man or a woman?" And it was kind of like, you know, I'm a man. How could you not tell? This conversation was in Russian, not in English.
Cool.
I said, I'm a man. So she sits next to me, and I said, why did you ask if I'm a man or a woman? So she puts her hand on my leg and she says,